Welcome back YouTube, it's another video from Uncle Soul. This is a channel where we review shoes for uncles, by uncle. Sorry for the hiatus, life's been a little busy and I haven't gotten around to getting some of my shoe reviews. Today we'll be looking at the Air Jordan 40s. Uncle will be wearing newest Air Jordans 40 for 40. Before we get started, let's get some of the old stuff out of the way. Please like and subscribe to the channel. That'll help YouTube's algorithm. I gotta keep doing what I gotta do. I'm sure some of you enjoy my reviews, so let's keep that going. Without further ado, let's talk shoes. Alright, so the Air Jordan 40 is the newest in the signature Air Jordan line. I mean, no surprise there, I shouldn't even need to say that. Let's start off with the weight. It's definitely a heavier shoe. Size 10 is 505 grams. It's a little heavier. Fortunately, you don't really feel that when you put on the shoe. So I usually don't talk about looks right off the bat, but I mean, this is the Air Jordan, right? This is the cream of the crop. So we gotta talk about it. I dig it. It's clean. The cuts are nice. It's very streamlined. But I do get it. It's the newest Air Jordans. You're looking for the greatest and next best thing, and this is definitely not it. It looks more like a plain old retro basketball shoe. It doesn't give off the aura. But you know what? Let me know in the comments below. How do you like it? Do you like the new Air Jordan looks? So the fit, it should fit true to size. I feel like when I first put it on in store, 9.5 was good enough. However, I end up going with the 10s because of this area. It's not very friendly to high volume foot like myself. The width is fine, the width is nice, and the length is fine too, but the high volume foot like mine, you gotta watch out for. This presses down on you quite a bit and really compresses this part, so I felt a lot of pinching when I did the 9.5. When I put on the 10s, it felt perfect. And the fortunate thing is the inside of the shoe is so well padded that there's no heel slippage. It doesn't feel like a lockdown sacrifice when you go that up half a size. And normal people should go true to size. If you have high volume foot like myself, you might want to go half a size up. Like all Air Jordan lines, when it first comes out, it's freaking expensive. 205 USD, 260 Canadian. No surprise there. I mean, this has been kind of like the pricing for the Jordans for a while. We'll talk about the price to performance ratio in a bit, but I got these right off the bat. You know, they're definitely pricey. So if you like this video, please do like and subscribe. It will help me out a lot. And I'm surprised at this price that it's sold out at all. But it seems like the colorway, especially this one, is all gone. The blue one is, I think, all gone by now on the websites and most of the stores. The pink one that's coming out, I have problems with it. They replaced a really nice leather with this shiny garbage. So I'm not sure why they did that. I don't think that's going to sell out. But to be honest, I don't think any of these should sell out because of how expensive it is. But for some reason, I think Nike is doing some shenanigans because the supply should not be this short. But, you know, it's all speculation. So let's move on to something that is not speculation, which is Uncle's review of the Air Jordan 40s. So let's start off with our newest section, the Pad Player Assist Tech. The Air Jordan 40s is not like a Chinese shoe, so it doesn't really have a lot of the crazy tech. But what they do have is very well done. Full-length Zoom X with the Zoom Turbo Strobo. Similar to the Air Jordan 39s as it is full-length Zoom X and Zoom Strobo. But what's different is that the Zoom pad for the 39s is underneath the shoe. And the Zoom Strobo is above, it's right underneath your foot in the Air Jordan 40s. That does make a huge difference, surprisingly. And they also replaced the Zoom Air Pad with the Zoom Turbo Strobo. What that means is that the Zoom Strobo itself is cut into little air pods to allow for more flexibility. This air pad in the Zoom Air Pad in the 39s is one gigantic pad. The difference is actually pretty clear right off the bat. The second you put in your foot inside the shoe, the 39 feels like a extremely comfortable ride. This is the only thing that I would say the 39s have over the 40s, is that it's so smooth and comfortable. I have these as my walking shoe, number one walking shoe of choice, number one recovery shoe of choice, because they're so damn comfortable. And they're surprisingly durable if you're just walking around in them. So I love them for walking, and they are, and that Zoom X and Zoom Strobo, Zoom X and Zoom AirPad is wonderful. The 40 setup, however, the shoe is pretty muted, the cushioning at least when you put it on. There's still a little bit of that Zoom X bounce, but you don't get the same crazy pillowy bounce right off the bat when you put on it. Once you start putting any power in the 40s though, that goes away. The 40s are just as good as the 39s in terms of performances. The Zoom Strobo, to be honest, I really don't think it does anything. But again, we'll talk about it in the cushioning section. I think they could have done it with the same Zoom Air pad as the 39s, and maybe that would have increased the step-in comfort a bit. The Zoom X is wonderful. The configuration is amazing. And the way they did it with the Zoom pad up top and then the Zoom X down there, it actually impacts the safety features of the 40s a lot compared to the 39s. I feel like now that we look at the two, the 39s was very experimental and they were trying something new and it didn't work. We'll talk about that too in a second, but I'm glad they did that because the 40s now feel great. Still no shank, no nothing, no TPU, no carbon fiber plate, but this is a very hard TPU cage on the side, and that kind of acts like a shank for torsional support, at least, not the power transference, but we'll talk about that again. But overall, with how bouncy the double cushioning is, I would say the pad gets an SS grade from me for the Air Jordan 40s. So let's move on to the 4 pillars. Uncle's 4 pillars, the safety 4 pillars for the Air Jordan 40s. Is it as bad as the 39s? Before I start though, let me say this one thing. I never reviewed on video for the 39s, but I did do text reviews of this shoe on some forums and definitely on Reddit. What I find that there is a lot of issues with the 39s, except when I do point out these issues, I was met with a lot of fan gaze and a lot of angry mob blasting me, saying that, Uncle, you don't know what you're talking about, these shoes are perfect. I also don't point out much about the missing shank, and that also irks some folks because they say that, all the major reviews are saying that the shank's missing is the biggest problem. You're not even addressing that, like you're nothing but a fake. And the funny part is, when this came out, every single weakness that I have pointed out for the 39s were fixed with these. Except, still no shank. So, is it that I'm clueless, or is it that, Nike truly understand what was wrong with the 39s and fixed it? I mean, you be the judge. But I really, really do like the 40s because, again, it has fixed everything that I think is wrong with 39, and it's done something that I didn't think they would do, but I'm glad they did. So let's get into it. The first thing is traction. So actually, this is the part where they didn't make any improvements. In fact, I think they actually went back a little bit. Traction on this shoe is this weird diamond pattern, and it comes in both solid rubber and translucent rubber, and a little bit of a line radial pattern in the back. And this is the cooler part. This is the callback to 11s or the 12s. I can't remember which one now. The traction itself on clean courts right off the bat, amazing. Just like the 39s, grips the court perfectly well. When it comes to dusty courts, however, off the bat, the translucent rubber eats up a lot of dust very quickly, which we expect. Unlike the 39s, they don't bite through the dust very well. I slipped a lot when I first put these on when it first started. It went away after about 1 or 2 sessions. The translucent rubber broke in, and even on dusty courts, on the same exact court, I didn't slip anymore. So these shoes takes a little bit to break in. The 39s never needed breaking in. Moving on to cushioning, we talked about that in the pad section. The Zoom Turbo Strobo on top of Zoom X. It's freaking comfortable. Like, you have to try. If you never tried the 39s, then you gotta try this. If you try the 39s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Again, it's a little more muted in here because they switched the configuration. It didn't hurt impact protection. Also very freaking responsive and very bouncy we expect. Responsive is impressive given how high the stack of foam and the Zoom Air is. Obviously, with this much cushioning, there's no court view to speak of. So if you're looking for a low to ground shoe, this is not where you're gonna find it. Stability and lockdown, and well, this is the major weakness in the 39s. Now let me get that out of the way first. and this is where they improved the most. Really, the upper for the 39s was the biggest problem for me. It wasn't the missing shank, it wasn't the high collar, it wasn't the little wobbly cushioning in the Zoom X and Zoom, although that's a problem too. The biggest problem was the upper. At first, this synthetic leather is perfectly fine. As your shoe breaks in for the 39s, however, this starts stretching. And what happens is the cushioning for the 39s is soft, the rubber caging is kind of weak, and on top of that, your upper lockdown is non-existent when this breaks in because your foot just slides right out of the footbed. So what happens is you're going to have a center of gravity that's out here because your foot's slid out. Your cushioning is too soft, so it's going leaning this way. And I mean, it doesn't take a physicist to understand what the hell this is going to do to your foot. If you're not strong enough on your ankle strength, there it goes. And that's where I think the biggest problem with the 39s is it wasn't built for anybody who's not running straight. This leather doesn't last more than a month. In the 40s, they did an amazing job with these laces. I hate how they feel. They're rough, but they're extremely high friction. I tried doing the same with these. I put in some high friction laces in the 39s. It improved it a little bit, but it really didn't solve the issue as the upper here is still too weak. In the 40s, they extended the laces down a little bit so that it grabs your foot more, and they replaced it with these high friction laces. Exactly how I tried to fix this. And they didn't take their synthetic leather all the way down. They kept this nubuck, which is a little stronger, and they really reinforced the sides of this shoe with this TPU caging, and the sides of the shoe with this really hard nubuck. So what that does is that this is no longer a weakness. If you try your best, you're not going to slide out of the footbed anymore. Same cushion height, a much stronger upper means that your stability for your shoe for the Air Jordan 40s, it's much better than the 39s. Now on top of that is this, I mean, it's actually kind of funny because it almost feels like, why didn't they do that in the first place? They didn't have R&D. Putting the Zoom pad on top of the Zoom X sounds like they just switched it around. No, what they actually did is that they were able to lower the center of gravity. They were able to create a little bit of a cradle with the shoe because I think they brought the Zoom X a little further up on the sides, and then pad, and then Zoom Air pad, and then Zoom X for your bottom of the foot. So this actually lowered the center of gravity of the shoe. Compared to this same stack height, but they were able to lower the center of gravity, which means you're able to control your movements a lot better, the lateral movements a lot better. And then on top of that, a much better upper means that there's no more risk of laterally moving out of the footbed anymore. Great design revision. But again, I'm almost like, you didn't R&D this, like why didn't you do this in the first place? But at least they did it in the version later. What they also did to lower the center of gravity, and this was probably one of the most impressive things they did, is that they try to keep the Jordan 40s or any of the Jordan lines to be as streamlined and as pretty, because you want to wear it outside. That's the fashion statement they always try to make. So if you start making crazy line adjustments to hug your foot, your shoes start looking like more of a sports athletic shoe than it is a fashion casual shoes. Casual shoes are very streamlined. So they try to do the same thing, right? You can see that the TPU caging is all around and it's kind of like on the outside, and it makes the shoe a very streamlined, very casual looking shoe. But they stole away this part. It's hidden underneath this TPU caging, so you don't really see it when you're walking around or when you're just looking at someone walking around the 40s. But what this does is huge. What happens here is that when you're doing lateral movement on the outside, instead of this being in your way, this allows, because this is Zoom X as well, this allows your foot to lower the center of gravity on your midfoot. That again increases stability. It also improves your heel to toe transition a lot. By doing this little thing here, it's actually a huge improvement to your movement, and it doesn't steal away the aesthetic. You're gonna see this TPU piece instead of the hidden curve on the bottom. The inside is, less likely to be looked at, so they were able to steal away all of that easily. And again, it's the same effect. What that does is that since both sides are stolen away, this is a very centered, balanced shoes. There's no eversion, even with the high stack. So great job there. And finally, on the outside, there is a lateral flange. These forefoot stability is incredible. And I said, why didn't they add that in the 39s? And I got blasted for it. I said, well, you don't need one, you know, it's great the way it is. You know. Anyways, moving on. I love how this looks, and the funny thing is, with all these safety features, the shoe ends up being a lot heavier than 39s, unfortunately. With all that said, with stability, lockdown traction, and cushioning, the Jordan 40 scores an SS on my 4 pillars. Now, of course, safety is important, but we're here for performance as well. So how does the Jordan 40 perform? Wow, the transition for this shoe, mentioned it earlier, it's smooth. It is smooth like a fine aged whiskey. I mean, I'm not referencing Jordan's drinking problem or anything.
And it became personal with me.
So the heel is the semi ball shape. Thanks to how soft the heel is with the Zoom X, any point you push in, the semi ball shape compresses, and it really gives you a perfect heel strike no matter where you put it. And because it is Zoom X, it doesn't actually bottom out. So I mean, they utilize their tech perfectly. And as you go forward, there is no rocker in this shoe. There's not much of a rocker in this shoe, but the cut in here, the stowaway cut in here, the very well shaped inner here. What that does is that obviously the heel to toe on a straight line, these shoes are amazing. But even if you compress it on the side, you compress it inside, the transition for lateral and medial steps are incredible. Cross steps, negative steps, everything you can do on a basketball court, these feel very natural to do. Of course, you're dragging out 500 grams of shoe, but it feels very natural to do so. And because of where the TPU counter is around the entire shoe, you don't actually feel the hardness of this thing at all, because right underneath it is where all the Zoom X and the softer rubber is. So great job on that as well. Overall, the transition for this shoe is definitely SS. I think at this point it's safe to say that the Jordan 40s are just significantly better than the 39s. Let's get that out of the way and move on to the next part. For jumping, the 40s are running Zoom Air and Zoom X. I mean, is there anything else to talk about? Great for jumping, great for landing. One thing though, you do have to get used to how the cushioning bounces and how the cushioning compresses. It is slightly different than 39s and certainly different than a lot of other cushion, even Boom. The double compression is responsive, but there is a slight difference in the way that they compress. Once you understand the timing of the shoe, you get the best results out of the shoe for sure. Material is premium. I freaking love leather, and I love nubuck, and I love everything that they use in this shoe because it feels damn comfortable. It feels premium. It feels like a Jordan 40. It may not look like a Jordan 40, but it sure damn well feels like a Jordan 40. SSS grade on material. But on the flip side, this is a leather nubuck shoe that they designed for fashion purpose more than basketball purpose, at least material wise. Breathability is next to none. It's a D grade for me for breathability. Style, we talked about that. Again, if you haven't, comment down below. Let me know how you feel about the Jordan 40 and its looks. So price to performance, this is where it gets interesting. I've saying praise for this shoe for sure throughout this review. However, if you ask me, is this worth $205 US, 260 Canadian? I'm gonna tell you no. Heck no. I pay retail for these, and I just don't feel on the market today that the performance I got out of this shoe, I can get it out of a shoe that costs half as much. Is it good? Yes. If you're a Jordan fan, should you get one? And should you play in it? I'm gonna say, if you're a Jordan fan and you love the AJs, then yes, go for it. If you have money, go for it. I don't feel like you need to get the Jordan 40s at this moment. However, if you wait a year, I got the 39s in outlet for basically $60 US, $80 Canadian. Eventually, the AJ 40s are gonna follow down that same path. It's gonna end up in the outlet for a similar price, or maybe even $100 Canadian and $80 US. That is well worth for these shoes. Again, I just don't feel like there's enough performance to justify the pricing. The tech here isn't all new tech. It isn't some new cushioning. It literally is the 39s in a different configuration. I just don't feel like it's worth $260 or $205. So that gets a B grade for me in terms of price to performance. Overall, I think the Jordan 40s is an S grade tier shoe. It is a great basketball shoe that fits a lot of people. It's extremely comfortable. It's extremely well protected. There is no risk except for the first 2 hours or first 3 hours you play in this shoe where you're slipping a bit on the translucent outsole. That's the only part where I feel like I was ever in any kind of danger. So who would I recommend the Jordan 40s to? It's actually pretty simple. Everybody. Everybody but one type of player. So the athletic uncle is going to enjoy that Zoom Air, Zoom Strobo. Again, once you adjust to the compression timing for the double cushioning, you will feel so much rebound for these shoes. One thing I do want to point out, it's actually a topic that's come up lately, the bounciness of a cushion of the foam. A lot of the other channels like to use that ball bearing test. They drop ball bearing at a certain point and it bounces back, and they measure how far it bounces back, and that's the cushion's energy return. Sometimes they measure it in height, sometimes they measure it in percentage of how far it bounced back. Yes, I do believe that test is misleading because those ball bearing tests often shows like 80% energy return or 85% energy return. A shoe ain't gonna give you that. If this shoe can give you 85% energy return, you can run for hours without any stress to your legs. It doesn't do that. If you think that a shoe can give you basically all your energy back, I mean, you're dreaming. When we talk about energy return in a shoe and we talk about how bouncy the shoe is, what we mean is that it does give you energy back. You have to understand that it really does. If you run in one of the more unsafe shoes, the GT Hustle 3 or the Jordan 39s and the Jordan 40s, which I feel like these are some of the bounciest and highest energy return shoe, is that you end up running crazy hard for a 2-hour session and whatnot. Your legs that night or your legs the next day don't feel the same stress and tiredness as you do with some other shoe. And that's the energy return. You feel like when you're running, it feels lighter. It's not an illusion. And it's been proven when the Alpha Fly first came out, the professional athletes actually ran faster. Percentage is faster. It's not huge. It's not 80% faster. They do run faster because the shoe helps. And it's same in basketball. You're not going to get 80% return. You might get 10, you might get 15% return. Because when you compress the cushion, you're not as light as a ball. So it doesn't just comes back, but it does still come back. The carbon plate, the cushioning still comes back at you, and your next step is lighter. These do help, just not to the same degree. So if you look at those ball bearing tests, remember to take that with a grain of salt. Anyways, athletic uncles will find this very well done, and they're gonna feel that energy return. And the landing is also amazing. I mean, you're landing on a Zoom Air pad, top of Zoom X. Come on, like, there's no comparison. That's why Nike still exists. The Zoom Air is the only thing that's going for them. Cardio uncles, obviously, you're running on the perfect cushion with the perfect safety feature. It's wonderful. Like the cardio uncles don't need core feel. Like these are perfect for them. Again, maybe the price point, but aside from that, great for them. Chunky uncles who needs a lot of cushioning. Again, same thing, cushioning. These are the top features of the 40s. Chunky uncles, athletic uncles, cardio uncles, they all want that. They all want that energy return. They all want that great cushioning. It's in here. Chill uncles as well. They want a step-in comfort. They want a comfortable shoe. This is it as well. However, I do want to stress the breathability is really not there. Great for shooters. The responsiveness in the forefoot allows you to shoot easier. You also jump a lot easier because of the cushioning. Those pull-up middies, these are very easy because you can stop on a dime with the traction once it's broken in and then go straight into your jump, because these really does help you take off easier. Because of how simple the tech in the shoe is, it's actually great for change of pace. For someone like me who likes to stop, go, slow down, the Zoom Air actually is very easy to control. What this shoe is not good for are shifty guards. Guards that love core feel. These shoes are not designed for that purpose. So if you want something that's super low to the ground, that can be light on your foot and everything, yeah, the 40s are not it. You are actually the only audience that these shoes are not designed for. The AJ40 is a shoe designed for almost everybody, and you can get it for a reduced retail price. then I definitely recommend these to anybody who don't really have a preference for a specific type of basketball shoe, because this is a great all-rounder. Anyways, I gotta get back to the reviewing schedule. I hope I do. Life's a little busy, but you know, we've kind of gone through it, and I definitely want to get back on schedule. I love reviewing shoes, and I mean, I usually don't review Western shoe when I went after these AJs, because you know, they're Air Jordans, right? And they look so good this time. This concludes the review for the AJ 40s. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. And until next time, remember to stretch.